Over the years, the Philippines have been tested time and again, with typhoons leaving scars on the land and in the hearts of its people. From the bustling streets of Manila to remote villages, the impact of these typhoons has been felt far and wide. Join us as we revisit the top 10 most destructive typhoons in the Philippines, delving into their impact, the stories of survival, and the lessons learned in the face of unimaginable adversity. Haiyan, also known as Yolanda, the super typhoon that shocked the world. In November 2013, Super Typhoon Haiyan, known locally as Yolanda, carved a path of destruction across the central Philippines. Tacloban city in Leyte province bore the brunt of Haiyan's fury, with a wind speed of 315 kilometers per hour, with a storm surge exceeding 20 feet swallowing entire coastal communities. Over 6,300 lives were lost, a grim reminder of nature's unyielding power. It was considered the deadliest typhoon in Philippine history, with over 6,300 fatalities. The massive storm surges destroyed coastal areas, especially in Tacloban, leaving 4.1 million people displaced and caused $5.8 billion in damages. Next on our list is Typhoon Goni, also known as Rolly. In 2020, Typhoon Goni, known as Rolly in the Philippines, slammed into the Bicol Region, bringing catastrophic winds. The island province of Catanduanes experienced the full wrath of Goni's 315 km/h winds, impacting over 400,000 people and causing widespread damage to agriculture. The typhoon, one of the strongest to hit the country, resulted in the deaths of over 25 individuals and left approximately 425,000 people displaced. The damage was catastrophic, with $1 billion in losses due to destroyed crops, homes, and critical infrastructure. Of course, we can't forget Typhoon Reming, also known as Durian, Mayon's fury unleashed. In 2006, Typhoon Reming, internationally known as Durian, triggered massive lahars from Mayon Volcano, burying entire villages. With a wind speed of 260 km/h, this typhoon triggered landslides and mudflows from Mayon Volcano, resulting in 734 deaths and destroyed thousands of homes. Its economic loss was estimated at $452 million. Another strong typhoon that hit the country was Bofa, locally known as Pablo. It delivered Mindanao's unforgettable blow. Typhoon Pablo reached wind speeds of 280 km/h as it barreled through the southern Philippines in 2012. The storm resulted in over 1,900 fatalities and caused approximately $1.04 billion in damages. Entire towns were flattened, and the devastation was particularly severe in agricultural areas where banana plantations were completely wiped out. The typhoon's impact left communities struggling with massive loss of life, property, and livelihoods, particularly in the provinces of Mindanao. Typhoon Haiyan, internationally known as Meggy, was a near miss, but a stark reminder. This typhoon that struck the Philippines in 2010 was a powerful storm with wind speeds reaching 250 km/h. It destroyed around 260,000 hectares of farmland in Luzon, devastating crops and affecting the livelihoods of thousands of farmers. The estimated financial losses from the disaster were approximately $276 million. Despite the significant damage, Typhoon Haiyan recorded relatively few fatalities, thanks to the effective preparedness measures in place. Do you remember the tragic sinking of the MV Princess of the Stars? This disaster was caused by Typhoon Fengshan, locally known as Typhoon Frank, which struck the Philippines in 2008. It slammed into the Philippines, bringing winds of up to 195 km/h. The storm caused widespread destruction across the western Visayas and Luzon, with heavy rainfall and intense winds that led to severe flooding in affected areas. But the most tragic event of Typhoon Frank was the sinking of the MV Princess of the Stars, a ferry that capsized off the coast of Romblon due to the powerful storm. Tragically, 846 lives were lost, making it one of the deadliest maritime disasters in the Philippines' history. The damages from Typhoon Frank were catastrophic, with $480 million in losses. Homes were destroyed, crops were devastated, and entire communities were left struggling to rebuild their lives. Typhoon Palma, or locally known as Pipeng. In 2009, Typhoon Pipeng struck the Philippines with immense force, packing wind speeds of 240 km/h. It quickly became one of the most destructive storms of the year, causing widespread devastation across northern Luzon. The storm triggered massive flooding and landslides. The non-stop downpour continued for days, overwhelming rivers and drainage systems, which contributed to the severe flooding. The impact was devastating, with 465 people losing their lives, and the storm's toll on the nation was compounded by $608 million in damages. The destruction was widespread, affecting infrastructure, agriculture, and livelihoods across many provinces. Typhoon Ulysses, international name VAMCO, struck the Philippines in 2020, with wind speeds reaching 155 kilometers per hour. Despite being less intense than other typhoons, Ulysses brought catastrophic flooding, especially in Metro Manila and Cagayan Valley. The storm triggered massive rainfall, which overwhelmed rivers and drainage systems, resulting in widespread floods that inundated communities, damaging homes, infrastructure, and farmland. The disaster led to 101 deaths and caused an estimated $416 million in damages. More than 3 million people were displaced as they sought refuge from the rising waters, making Ulysses one of the most impactful storms of that year. Relief operations were launched, but the recovery from the devastation took months as the affected areas worked to rebuild and restore normalcy. Images of submerged homes and residents trapped on rooftops dominated the news. In 2009, Typhoon Ketsana, locally known as Ondoy, hit the Philippines with winds of 100 kilometers per hour. While its winds were not particularly strong, the real devastation came from the heavy rainfall that poured down for hours, overwhelming Metro Manila and its surrounding areas. The torrential rains caused severe flooding across the capital, inundating neighborhoods, displacing thousands, and disrupting daily life. The floodwaters submerged entire communities, with many homes completely submerged, while families struggled to find safety. The impact was catastrophic, with over 464 deaths and $1.09 billion in damages, making Typhoon Ondoy one of the costliest natural disasters in the country's history. The floods also caused massive damage to homes, businesses, and infrastructure, leaving the affected areas grappling with recovery efforts for months. In recognition of the scale of the destruction, Ondoy was declared a national disaster. Despite the tragedy, the storm also sparked a wave of humanitarian efforts, with Filipinos coming together to provide aid and support for the victims. In 2006, Typhoon Milenio, international name Sangsane, unleashed its fury on the Philippines with winds reaching speeds of up to 195 kilometers per hour. The typhoon swept across southern Luzon and Mindoro, bringing widespread destruction to the region. The storm brought with it powerful winds and torrential rain, causing massive power outages in Metro Manila and surrounding provinces. For days, millions of residents were left in the dark as utility lines were brought down and infrastructure was severely damaged. Milenio's destruction was felt throughout the region, with homes, businesses, and agricultural lands heavily impacted. Southern Luzon and Mindoro suffered the brunt of the damage as entire communities faced ruined livelihoods and homes wiped out by the storm's force. The typhoon claimed the lives of over 40 people, and the estimated $82 million in damages left the affected areas struggling to recover. Despite the challenges, relief efforts were quickly mobilized, and the resilience of the Filipino people became evident as they worked together to rebuild their communities. These typhoons highlight the vulnerability of the Philippines due to its geographic location. Amidst the devastation, a spirit of resilience shines through. Improved disaster response, early warning systems, and community preparedness have been critical in mitigating the impact of these disasters. Stay safe and stay informed.